Engineer Tillman, if you'd like to start.
Thank you. Again, my name is Hassan. How about now? There we go. Well, thank you. My name is Calvin Tillman. I'm the mayor of a little small town in Denton County, Dish, Texas. Dish is located about 25 miles directly north of downtown Fort Worth, right in the middle of Barnett Shale, on the edge of the urban sprawl. And we've been inundated with a lot of natural gas activities, production, wells, etc. We're home to 11 natural gas compression stations, 18 wells, 4 metering stations, 3 dehydration units, an amine unit, as well as a number of massive lines, natural gas pipelines. The town of Dish tried for a number of years to try and get some help from our regulatory agencies, and we did that without any success, so we took matters into our own hands and performed our own air study. That air study showed that we had chemicals in exceedance of the effect screening levels that was set by the EPA, including carcinogens and neurotoxins. This cost us 15% of our budget. It cost the taxpayers to dish this money, and I feel that that should have been done by the regulatory agencies who actually have oversight of this. When the data was released, our state regulatory agencies didn't even really know who had jurisdiction over that. It seemed to be a large matter of confusion. And so, due to this and due to the inaction, when we actually had our public hearing regarding this, I didn't even find our state regulatory agencies relevant in the discussion. I didn't even want to invite them to the meeting. I only did so because that was the only way the EPA would show up. There have been several studies accomplished since this time, both by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, private sources, as well as the industry. And each one of those has showed exceedances of the effect screening levels, more specifically the long-term effect screening levels. And both the TCEQ and the industry have touted that this isn't a problem. They have touted that they compared it to the short-term ESL, which is much higher. For benzene, for example, the long-term is 1.4 parts per billion, and the short-term is 180 parts per billion. Well, they had 6.5 parts per billion detected in Fort Worth, and the chairman of the TCEQ came forward and said that that was not a problem. As you know, the long-term ESL is based on 1 year. Unfortunately, we're coming up on a year since Dish did its first air study, so we are getting into the long-term effects. I was optimistic that maybe something would happen, and TCEQ installed a permanent monitor Dish. And since that permanent monitor has been installed, there has been no exceedances on that monitor. I believe we had a president one time who said, "Trust but verify," when talking about the Russians. And so I like that theory. So the town of Dish just recently ran a sample in close proximity to the permanent monitor located in Dish. The permanent monitor installed by the state of Texas in a 2-day period showed a high of 0.70 parts per billion for benzene. The town of Dish 24-hour canister, we put 2 of them out, showed a 2.26 parts per billion of benzene. Toluene was shown at 0.64 parts per billion. The town of Dish showed 25.9 parts per billion. Ethylbenzene was shown at 0.10 parts per billion, and the town of Dish shows a high of 4.17 parts per billion. I could go on through the rest of these if you'd like, but I think you probably get the message. TCEQ hasn't been forthcoming with the public, and this is something that they have grown accustomed to. And unfortunately, they have not been held accountable for withholding this information from the public. I think it's imperative that the EPA not only strengthen the regulations, but they need to ensure that those regulations are enforced. Once you know, you can't not know. You know, so we got to do something about it. This problem has forced me to consider leaving my home and moving my children away from this facility that was permitted to be operated by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality under the permit by rule. I thank you for what you're doing here, and I will happily provide you with the lab results from our recent testing that shows the major discrepancies and the essentially intentional disregard for safety by our state regulatory agencies. Thank you.